Imagine waking up every morning with complete freedom, no obligations to anyone, and the ability to live life exactly how you want. Sounds appealing, right? For many older men, that's the reality they've chosen, and it's a life they're not in a hurry to give up. But what happens when the idea of remarrying isn't even on the table? Why is it that so many older men, after years of marriage or relationships, decide not to remarry at all? In today's video, we're going to explore why older men don't want to remarry anymore. It's not just about avoiding commitment. It's about understanding the deep-rooted reasons that shape their decision. First, let's talk about freedom. For many men over 60, their daily routine is centered around doing things on their terms. There's no one to answer to, no one to compromise with, and no one to check in with. After spending decades in a relationship, the idea of having complete control over one's life is incredibly liberating. It's the freedom to travel without consulting anyone, the freedom to enjoy hobbies without feeling guilty, and the freedom to make decisions without anyone else's input. But it's not just about the perks of independence. There's a deeper psychological reason that plays into this decision. After experiencing the highs and lows of marriage, sometimes for decades, many older men simply don't want to go through it all again. They've learned from their previous relationships and are content with the way things are. The pain of a broken relationship, the heartache of divorce, or losing a partner often leaves a scar that's hard to heal. Once a man reaches a certain age, he starts to prioritize emotional peace over new romantic adventures. The thought of facing the same emotional roller coaster again can be overwhelming, so they decide to avoid it altogether. Additionally, many older men find solace in the fact that they no longer need to meet society's expectations when it comes to relationships. There's no pressure to get married, no societal timeline pushing them to settle down again. With age comes the realization that their happiness doesn't have to be tied to the approval or expectations of others. This freedom extends beyond just the lack of emotional pressure. Financial considerations also play a big role in this decision. When men reach their senior years, they often have a clearer picture of their financial standing. They've spent years building a retirement plan, investing in their future, and maintaining their assets. Remarrying could complicate this, introducing questions about asset division, inheritance, and other financial matters. After experiencing a divorce or loss, many men want to safeguard their wealth and ensure that it stays intact for their loved ones, such as children or grandchildren. The thought of entering a new marriage and potentially losing control of their finances is often not worth the risk. Furthermore, relationships in older age often take a different form than those in youth. The priorities shift. Rather than seeking a new romantic partner, many older men are focused on maintaining deep connections with their family and friends. Their children may need their support, and their friendships have often become stronger and more meaningful. The time they have left is precious, and they're choosing to spend it with people who truly matter to them. In conclusion, the decision not to remarry comes down to a combination of personal freedom, emotional self-preservation, financial security, and a shift in priorities as they grow older. While society may still expect older men to seek new relationships, the reality is that many have found peace in staying single and embracing the life they've created. It's not about being lonely or disconnected. It's about making the conscious decision to live life on their own terms, free from the expectations of others. As we continue exploring the reasons why many older men are choosing not to remarry, we delve deeper into the emotional aspects that play a significant role in their decision. After spending years in a committed relationship, the thought of entering another one can be daunting. Many older men, having gone through a divorce or the loss of a partner, often come to a realization. The emotional cost of getting involved again simply isn't worth it. This isn't about fear of being alone. It's about protecting one's emotional well-being. These men have already experienced the highs and lows of a relationship, and the emotional scars left by those experiences can last a lifetime. The pain from past heartbreak, whether from divorce or the death of a spouse, creates a mental and emotional barrier. It's not that they are incapable of love or companionship, but rather they've learned that their peace of mind and emotional stability are more important than risking another potentially painful experience. At this stage in their lives, older men have seen what relationships can entail. They have witnessed firsthand the challenges, sacrifices, and at times, the emotional turmoil that can come with being in a marriage. While they may still cherish the memories of the love they once had, the idea of entering into a new commitment that could bring about similar emotional strain is not an appealing thought. As time goes on, many older men begin to realize that they don't need a romantic partner to lead a fulfilling life. Their happiness is no longer defined by societal expectations of marriage, but instead by their ability to create meaningful, personal connections that are not bound by the legal and emotional complexities of marriage. There's also the sense of emotional independence. Once a man has spent decades building his life, his career, and his family, there's a sense of fulfillment in standing on his own. He has learned to enjoy his own company, and the idea of constantly compromising or navigating the complexities of another person's emotions can feel overwhelming. The emotional independence that comes with this phase of life is something many men value deeply. They are no longer looking for someone to complete them. Instead, they are content with their own sense of self. As we explore further, we can't ignore the societal pressures that still exist around the idea of marriage. Society often sends the message that older individuals, particularly men, should seek a partner for companionship and support. There are expectations placed on them to find someone to grow old with, and often, this can feel like a burden rather than a choice. However, for many men, the societal expectation to remarry is not something they feel obligated to fulfill. They understand that it is okay to be single and that their happiness does not have to rely on meeting external standards. This shift in mindset allows them to focus on what truly matters to them. They are more likely to prioritize their relationships with their children, grandchildren, and close friends rather than pursuing a romantic relationship. It's not about being lonely, but about choosing quality connections over quantity. Financial security also plays a significant role in the decision not to remarry. After years of managing finances on their own, many older men are wary of entering a new relationship that could complicate their financial situation. They may have worked hard to build a stable retirement and have plans in place to secure their future. Remarrying could potentially disrupt these plans, bringing into question the division of assets, pension benefits, and other financial concerns. The fear of losing control over their financial independence and security is a valid concern that many older men take into account. Additionally, the legal aspects of remarriage are often more complex than they seem. With age, many men have accumulated wealth, assets, and property that they wish to protect. The legal ramifications of marrying again, particularly when it comes to inheritance or the distribution of assets in the event of death, are not something they want to gamble with. The idea of a potential legal battle over their estate after remarriage can be enough to deter them from even considering it. At the end of the day, the choice to remain single is not a reflection of loneliness or dissatisfaction. It is a conscious decision made by older men who value their independence, emotional peace, financial security, and the relationships they've built over the years. The notion that older men should remarry to find fulfillment simply doesn't align with their personal priorities anymore. They have learned to live on their own terms, creating lives that are rich with meaningful experiences and connections without the need for a second marriage. As we continue, it becomes clear that the decision not to remarry for many older men is deeply rooted in the concept of independence. This is not just about being alone or avoiding the complexity of relationships. It's about choosing a life where personal freedom takes center stage. The longer these men live independently, the more they value their autonomy. They've spent much of their younger years juggling responsibilities, career pressures, and family obligations, often putting their personal needs aside for the sake of others. But in their later years, they've learned to prioritize themselves. This newfound independence becomes an essential part of their identity. It's a freedom they're not eager to relinquish. In fact, for many older men, living independently is a form of self-respect. They no longer have to compromise on their preferences, habits, or routines. They get to wake up in the morning and do exactly what they want, without having to consider another person's schedule, desires, or emotions. For example, one might enjoy the simple pleasure of spending an entire day reading, gardening, or going for a walk without having to worry about attending to someone else's needs. In this way, living independently is seen as a reward after years of fulfilling the roles of a husband, father, and professional. These men find comfort and contentment in the routine they've created for themselves. It allows them to live life on their terms and enjoy the small moments that may have once been overshadowed by the demands of a relationship. Furthermore, many older men have learned the value of emotional stability. After experiencing the emotional ups and downs of a past relationship, whether it ended in divorce or the loss of a spouse, they have come to realize that emotional peace is priceless. The idea of going through another emotional roller coaster with a new partner doesn't hold much appeal. They've had enough of the drama, the misunderstandings, and the compromises that often come with intimate relationships. Instead, they've found comfort in a life that's more predictable and stable. Their emotional needs are often met by their close friends, children, and grandchildren, with whom they've developed strong, meaningful bonds over the years. These relationships provide the love and companionship they need without the complexities of a romantic partnership. For many, family becomes their primary source of emotional fulfillment. They enjoy the role of a father, grandfather, and mentor, taking pride in the relationships they've nurtured with their children and grandchildren. These men also find joy in being able to offer guidance and support without the emotional turmoil that can sometimes accompany a marriage. They cherish the time they get to spend with their loved ones and are content with the knowledge that they are playing an important role in their family's lives. Financial considerations also play a crucial role in the decision not to remarry. As men age, they become more aware of their financial standing. Many have spent years carefully planning for their retirement, managing their investments, and ensuring they have enough resources to live comfortably in their later years. Remarrying could complicate these financial plans, especially when it comes to matters of inheritance, assets, and pensions. Older men who have worked hard to secure their financial future may be hesitant to share their wealth or jeopardize their financial independence by entering into a new marriage. They may also be concerned about the potential financial burden a new spouse could bring. Even if the desire for companionship is present, the thought of disrupting their financial stability can be enough to discourage them from remarrying. In addition to emotional and financial factors, older men also weigh the social implications of remarriage. While society often places pressure on people to find a partner, many older men are indifferent to these expectations. They've reached a point in their lives where they no longer feel the need to conform to societal norms. They are free to live as they see fit, without worrying about the judgment of others. This freedom to live authentically allows them to embrace their independence fully. They don't need to remarry to validate their worth or to prove anything to anyone. The pressure to conform to societal expectations fades away, and they are content to live life on their own terms. In conclusion, the decision not to remarry is not a rejection of love or companionship, but rather a reflection of the deep desire for independence, emotional peace, and financial security. For many older men, their life experiences have taught them that these qualities are more valuable than the complexities of a new relationship. They've found fulfillment in the freedom to live as they please, the emotional connections they've built with their families, and the financial stability they've worked hard to achieve. Remarriage simply doesn't hold the same appeal as it once did. As we continue to understand the decision-making process for older men who choose not to remarry, it's important to address another significant factor: self-sufficiency. These men, having spent the majority of their lives in a committed relationship, whether that be a marriage or long-term partnership, have reached a stage where they no longer feel the need to depend on someone else for emotional or physical support. This sense of self-sufficiency is incredibly empowering. It's a feeling of knowing that they can handle life's challenges without having to rely on someone else to provide companionship or security. For many, the years spent working hard and raising families have solidified their sense of independence. They've faced the struggles that come with balancing work, personal life, and relationships, and now that the children have grown and their careers have come to a close, they are fully prepared to enjoy the fruits of their labor without the obligations that come with a new marriage. Another major consideration is the fear of losing control. When entering into a marriage or relationship, especially later in life, the power dynamic can shift. These men, who have spent so long in a role where they've made their own decisions, are not eager to give up that control. Remarrying means compromising with someone else, negotiating on decisions, and possibly having to share both physical space and resources. For many, the idea of navigating those compromises, especially after years of enjoying their independence, simply does not appeal. The thought of adjusting their lifestyle for the sake of a new relationship feels too burdensome. Instead, they are content with maintaining their current routine and enjoying their personal space. They have learned that being in control of their own life is far more satisfying than the compromises that come with marriage. Let's also consider the importance of the relationships that many older men have built over the years. These men often have a close circle of friends, children, and grandchildren who provide them with the love and companionship they need. They are not lacking in social interaction, nor are they feeling lonely. In fact, these relationships are often more fulfilling because they are based on mutual respect, shared experiences, and deep emotional bonds. Unlike romantic relationships, where there can be expectations or pressure to conform to a partner's needs, these family and friend connections are typically freer from those complications. The time spent with loved ones, such as taking care of grandchildren, helping out with family matters, or simply enjoying the company of friends, fills the emotional void that might otherwise prompt someone to seek a romantic partner. The relationships these men have are often enough to sustain them emotionally. There is a strong sense of contentment in knowing that they have a solid support system without the need for a romantic connection. When it comes to intimacy, it's essential to recognize that many older men, though they may still desire companionship, may no longer place as much importance on the idea of a romantic relationship. Over time, the pursuit of intimacy and love becomes less about fulfilling a physical need and more about finding peace and happiness in other aspects of life. These men have experienced the ups and downs of a relationship, including the emotional and physical elements. While some may still enjoy dating or casual companionship, the idea of remarrying is often seen as less appealing. The need for sexual intimacy, once considered a central part of relationships, becomes less of a priority as they age. They realize that emotional fulfillment, stability, and personal peace matter much more than the physical aspects of a romantic relationship. Financial independence is another key element in this decision. These men have spent years building their retirement savings, planning for the future, and securing their financial well-being. The thought of remarrying and potentially jeopardizing that financial stability is a significant deterrent. In many cases, older men are not just thinking about their own financial security, but also considering how their decisions will affect their children and grandchildren. They want to ensure that their wealth is passed down to their loved ones, without the complexities that could arise from a new marriage. The possibility of a new spouse gaining access to their assets or creating conflicts over inheritance is something that many older men prefer to avoid. The idea of maintaining financial control, particularly when it comes to matters such as retirement funds and property, is a major motivator in choosing not to remarry. In summary, the decision not to remarry is driven by a complex mix of factors, including self-sufficiency, fear of losing control, the importance of existing relationships, and the desire to maintain financial independence. These men have reached a point in their lives where they value their freedom, emotional peace, and stability more than the complexities of a new marriage. While they may still seek companionship and enjoy meaningful relationships, the idea of remarrying simply doesn't align with their priorities anymore. Instead, they find fulfillment in the life they've built, one that is centered around independence, personal contentment, and strong family connections. As we continue to explore the reasons why older men choose not to remarry, it's important to touch on another key factor: the changing priorities that come with age. In their younger years, many men might have placed a heavy emphasis on finding a life partner, building a family, and achieving the traditional milestones that society expects. However, as they grow older, those priorities shift. The relentless pursuit of career success, the need to satisfy others, and the pressure to maintain a particular image all fade into the background. In their later years, many older men realize that what truly matters is the quality of the time they have left. They no longer feel compelled to pursue goals based on external validation, but rather focus on what brings them personal happiness and fulfillment. This shift in mindset leads many men to reconsider the idea of remarrying. They've lived a life that has taught them the importance of enjoying the present moment and spending time doing the things they truly love. Whether it's traveling, engaging in hobbies, or simply enjoying peaceful solitude, these men have learned that their happiness is found in their personal choices, not in fulfilling societal expectations. For example, One might find immense joy in revisiting old hobbies like fishing, painting, or woodworking, activities that may have been put on hold during the busyness of family life and career. The freedom to explore these interests without the obligations of a partner is something many older men cherish deeply. They've had enough of putting their own desires on hold to please others and are now fully invested in the activities that bring them peace and joy. This shift in priorities is also closely tied to their relationships with their children and grandchildren. As men grow older, they often find that their family bonds become more important to them than romantic relationships. They take pride in being involved in their children's and grandchildren's lives, offering guidance and sharing experiences. They cherish these deep connections and feel a sense of fulfillment in being able to mentor younger generations without the emotional complexities that come with a romantic relationship. The time they have left is precious, and they choose to invest it in relationships that are grounded in love, respect, and shared history. They are no longer seeking to build a new life with a partner, but are content with the family and friendships they have cultivated over the years. Another important consideration is the realization that they've already experienced the most significant aspects of a romantic relationship. Many older men feel that they've already lived the life they envisioned when they were younger. They've had their families, they've built their careers, and they've loved deeply. Now, they are in a phase of life where they are no longer chasing those milestones. The idea of remarrying may simply seem unnecessary, especially when they feel that they have already experienced the joy and challenges of a committed relationship. In fact, many men find that they are more at peace with their memories than with the idea of starting over. They have learned to appreciate the life they've already built and are not looking to repeat the past. Financial considerations also remain a significant factor in the decision not to remarry. After years of carefully managing finances, older men are often more attuned to the importance of maintaining their financial stability. They have worked hard to build up their savings, secure their retirement, and ensure that they can enjoy their later years without financial worries. The prospect of remarrying can feel like a threat to this hard-earned stability. Even though many older men might still desire companionship, the potential financial implications of remarrying, such as sharing assets, dividing estates, or altering their financial plans, often outweigh the desire for a new relationship. The fear of disrupting their financial security, especially after decades of careful planning, is a powerful deterrent. Furthermore, many men find that their financial independence is closely tied to their sense of autonomy. The thought of relinquishing some of that control, whether it's over their investments, their lifestyle, or their property, can be unappealing. For many, the security of knowing that their wealth is theirs alone to manage is a major reason why they prefer to remain single. In conclusion, the decision not to remarry is shaped by a combination of changing priorities, emotional fulfillment, and a desire for financial independence. Older men often reach a point in life where they are no longer driven by the pursuit of societal expectations, but instead focus on what brings them true happiness. They cherish their independence, their family connections, and the freedom to live life on their own terms. The idea of remarrying no longer holds the same appeal, and instead, they find joy in the life they have already built, one that is rich with personal fulfillment and meaningful relationships. As we continue to examine the reasons why older men choose not to remarry, it's essential to explore how their views on companionship evolve over time. When men reach their later years, many find that their understanding of what it means to be fulfilled in a relationship shifts dramatically. For many of them, the desire for romantic love diminishes, while the value placed on deep, meaningful friendships and familial bonds increases. This shift in focus can be attributed to a few key factors. First, after spending decades in a romantic partnership, older men often find that they have already experienced the intensity of love and commitment. They've been there, done that, and now seek something different. For these men, love and companionship no longer need to come in the form of a romantic relationship. Instead, they find fulfillment in the strong friendships and connections they've cultivated over the years. These friendships offer the emotional intimacy that many older men still crave, without the pressures and complications that often accompany romantic relationships. The love that exists in these platonic relationships is no less important or fulfilling than romantic love, and for many, it's a more comfortable and less demanding form of connection. As these men age, they also become more attuned to the importance of spending time with family. Children and grandchildren become a central source of joy and emotional fulfillment. Being involved in the lives of their loved ones, whether it's helping out with daily tasks or simply enjoying each other's company, gives these men a sense of purpose that they might have missed out on during the busy years of raising a family or focusing on their career. In many cases, older men find that their relationships with their children and grandchildren are far more rewarding than any romantic involvement could be at this stage in their life. They cherish the time spent with family, and the emotional connection they share with them is more than enough to meet their needs for love and companionship. Another significant factor that contributes to the decision not to remarry is the simple fact that older men have reached a stage in their lives where they have mastered the art of self-sufficiency. Many men, after years of marriage or being in a long-term partnership, become highly independent in their later years. They are content with their own company and have learned to enjoy life on their terms. This independence is not about avoiding people or isolating themselves, but rather about having the freedom to live without having to make compromises or negotiate with a partner on a daily basis. They enjoy the ability to make decisions based solely on their own preferences, whether that's what to eat for dinner, where to travel, or how to spend their leisure time. The peace that comes with not having to consider someone else's needs or wants on a constant basis is incredibly valuable to many older men. Furthermore, older men often have a heightened sense of what truly brings them happiness. They've learned from experience what they enjoy and what they don't, and they've reached a point where they are no longer interested in pursuing relationships that may complicate their lives. While they may still enjoy the company of others, they are less likely to pursue relationships that require the emotional investment, commitment, and effort that a new marriage demands. Instead, they find fulfillment in pursuing their own interests, whether that's traveling, gardening, volunteering, or simply enjoying the peace of being at home. Another important consideration is the financial aspect of remarriage. For many older men, financial security is a priority, and the thought of remarrying often raises concerns about the potential impact on their financial independence. They've spent years building a stable retirement plan, managing their investments, and ensuring their financial future. The prospect of remarrying and potentially complicating their financial situation through sharing assets, dividing pensions, or altering their estate plans can be enough to discourage them from pursuing a new marriage. Many older men also feel a sense of responsibility to their children and grandchildren, wanting to ensure that their wealth and assets are passed down to their loved ones without the complications that could arise from a new marriage. This concern for their family's financial well-being further reinforces their decision to remain single. In summary, the decision not to remarry is influenced by a variety of factors, including the desire for meaningful relationships outside of romantic love, the joy of spending time with family, the fulfillment that comes from personal independence, and the importance of financial security. For many older men, their priorities have shifted away from the societal expectation of marriage and toward a life that offers greater emotional peace, personal freedom, and deep, supportive relationships. Remarriage simply doesn't fit into the life they've worked so hard to build, and they've learned to embrace the life they have with contentment and gratitude. As we continue to understand the reasons behind the decision not to remarry, it becomes clear that many older men also value their peace of mind and emotional well-being above all else. After years of navigating complex relationships, these men have learned the importance of mental clarity and emotional stability. This lesson often comes from years of experience, having faced the challenges of marriage, divorce, or the loss of a partner. For many, the emotional toll of past relationships is not something they wish to revisit. They have learned to protect their mental health by avoiding the emotional strain that can come with remarrying. For example, the process of getting to know someone new, the emotional vulnerability required to build a deep connection, and the potential for conflict in a new relationship can feel overwhelming at this stage of life. Many older men would rather avoid the emotional labor involved and choose to prioritize their own peace. The experience of being in a marriage or long-term relationship often comes with its own set of challenges, from disagreements and misunderstandings to the day-to-day compromises that are necessary in any partnership. After years of managing these complexities, the idea of re-entering into a similar situation may seem unappealing. For these men, the sense of peace and emotional balance they've found in their lives is far more valuable than the excitement of a new romantic relationship. Furthermore, as men age, they tend to become more introspective. They reflect on their life's journey and the relationships they've had. They often realize that they've already given a significant portion of their life to their families and spouses. They have invested time and energy into relationships and have already experienced the joys and sorrows that come with them. With this realization, many older men come to a conclusion. They no longer feel the need to prove their capacity for love or commitment. They have already done that, and now they seek a life that is simpler, more fulfilling, and less complicated by the demands of a new relationship. This desire for simplicity is another key reason why older men are choosing to remain single. They have lived through the complexities of relationships and have learned that sometimes less is more. Living a life where they can enjoy the freedom of their own company, pursue personal interests, and maintain the relationships that are most important to them is often seen as the ultimate goal. Additionally, the idea of managing a new relationship, one that comes with its own set of expectations, emotional investments, and potential conflicts, becomes less appealing. These men are not necessarily against companionship, but they recognize that companionship does not always have to come in the form of a romantic relationship. Many find comfort in the relationships they have with friends, family, and close confidants. These connections provide the emotional support they need without the pressures of a marriage. The bond they share with their children, grandchildren, and friends offers them a sense of purpose and belonging. They feel needed, appreciated, and loved, without the complexities of a romantic relationship. This shift in focus from romantic love to familial and platonic relationships is an important part of the emotional fulfillment that many older men seek. Another significant factor in the decision to remain single is the realization that they've already built a fulfilling life. They have established a routine, cultivated their interests, and found joy in the things they do on their own. The prospect of remarrying and potentially disrupting that routine doesn't appeal to many. They've already created a life that suits their needs and preferences, and the thought of introducing new dynamics into that life, especially with a new partner, feels unnecessary. For many older men, the idea of disrupting their well-established way of living seems far less appealing than continuing to enjoy the independence and stability they've worked so hard to create. Financial independence also plays a role in this decision. Many older men have worked hard to build a secure financial future, and they are not eager to risk that stability by entering into a new marriage. Remarrying could potentially alter their financial landscape, bringing up concerns about asset division, inheritance, and changes to retirement plans. These financial considerations are often more important than the desire for a new romantic relationship. Many older men value their financial independence and want to protect it, ensuring that they can continue living comfortably and securely in their later years. In conclusion, the decision not to remarry is shaped by many factors, including the desire for emotional peace, the importance of simplicity, and the recognition that a fulfilling life does not require a romantic relationship. For these men, the choice to remain single is not about rejecting love or companionship, but about embracing the freedom, independence, and emotional stability they've worked so hard to achieve. They've learned that the quality of their relationships with family and friends is more than enough to fulfill their emotional needs, and they value the peace and simplicity that comes with living life on their own terms. As we continue to explore the reasons why many older men choose not to remarry, another important aspect comes into focus: the concept of personal growth and self-discovery. Many older men, after years of marriage or long-term relationships, find that their sense of self has evolved in ways they hadn't anticipated. They've spent a significant part of their lives adapting to someone else's needs, compromising on their own desires, and often losing a bit of their own identity in the process. Once they find themselves living alone, they realize how much of their personal growth they've sacrificed over the years. The freedom to explore new interests, learn new skills, and engage in personal development becomes a major part of their later years. They start to rediscover parts of themselves they had forgotten or put aside in the pursuit of family life and work. This personal growth is incredibly fulfilling and adds a new dimension to their lives. Whether it's picking up a new hobby, learning a language, or traveling to places they've always wanted to visit, older men often find that these activities bring them joy and fulfillment that they had never experienced during their younger years. The independence they have in their later years allows them to explore their own passions without the need to answer to anyone else, which in turn gives them a deeper sense of satisfaction and accomplishment. This period of self-discovery is also tied to the realization that their lives are no longer defined by the roles they once played. Many older men have spent decades being fathers, husbands, and professionals, but in their later years, they begin to understand that their value is not tied to these roles. They start to see themselves as individuals rather than defined by their relationships. This shift in perspective is liberating. It allows them to live more authentically, focusing on their personal happiness and well-being. As they begin to embrace this new chapter in life, they often feel more empowered and in control of their destiny. They realize that they are free to define their own happiness, without the societal pressures of marriage or a traditional family structure. This newfound freedom also allows them to prioritize their mental and emotional health in ways they never could before. After years of navigating the ups and downs of relationships, many older men have come to understand the importance of emotional self-care. They no longer feel the need to suppress their own feelings or compromise their emotional needs for the sake of a partner. Instead, they focus on maintaining a healthy balance in their lives, taking care of their mental and emotional well-being, and cultivating a positive mindset. The emotional independence they experience in their later years is invaluable. It allows them to maintain their peace of mind, which is something they have come to cherish deeply. Furthermore, older men often realize that they are no longer interested in pursuing romantic relationships for the sake of companionship or societal expectations. They have already experienced what it means to be in a partnership and have learned that true happiness doesn't necessarily come from being with a romantic partner. Instead, they find joy in the connections they have with their friends, family, and the community around them. The support system they've built over the years is more than enough to meet their emotional needs. They don't feel the need to remarry to feel loved or appreciated. In fact, many older men feel that their relationships with friends and family provide them with all the companionship they need. These relationships are based on mutual respect, shared experiences, and understanding, which creates a deeper and more fulfilling sense of connection than what might be found in a new romantic relationship. The value of these relationships cannot be overstated. They are often the cornerstone of an older man's life, providing him with the emotional support, love, and companionship that allow him to live a happy and fulfilling life. In addition, older men recognize the importance of contributing to the lives of others. Whether it's through mentoring, volunteering, or spending quality time with grandchildren, these men find purpose in giving back and nurturing the younger generations. This sense of purpose provides them with a sense of fulfillment that many find just as meaningful, if not more so, than the pursuit of a romantic relationship. Their lives are rich with meaning, and they find deep satisfaction in the roles they play within their families and communities. Ultimately, the decision to remain single is not a rejection of love or companionship, but rather a conscious choice to prioritize personal growth, emotional health, and the meaningful relationships they have cultivated over the years. For many older men, their later years are about living life on their own terms, without the need to seek validation from a romantic partner. They've found a sense of peace, independence, and fulfillment that comes from embracing their own identity and enjoying the time they have left, surrounded by loved ones, and engaging in activities that bring them joy. As we continue to explore the choices of older men who opt not to remarry, we arrive at a key point: the importance of living life without the pressure of fitting into societal norms. Over time, these men have learned that happiness does not come from adhering to the expectations set by others, but rather from defining their own path. In the past, marriage was often seen as a necessary step in life, and there was societal pressure to settle down and build a family. However, for many older men, these societal pressures have faded, replaced by a deeper understanding of what it means to live authentically. They no longer feel the need to live up to the traditional notion of success, which often included remarriage or finding a new romantic partner later in life. These men have come to realize that their fulfillment comes from within, not from seeking external validation. They have found contentment in their own company, the relationships they have cultivated with their family and friends, and the activities they enjoy. This shift in perspective has allowed them to fully embrace their independence. They understand that they are in control of their own happiness, and the idea of remarrying to satisfy others' expectations simply no longer holds any appeal. Many of these men also find that they are now more comfortable in their own skin than they ever were before. The pressures of maintaining a career, raising a family, and living up to the expectations of others have subsided. They've reached a point in their lives where they can relax and enjoy their time without the constant stress of meeting external demands. This sense of freedom is incredibly valuable, and it's one of the main reasons why many older men choose to remain single. They've reached a level of comfort with themselves that they never had in their younger years, and the thought of bringing someone else into their lives who might disrupt that peace is simply unappealing. In addition, many older men are deeply committed to their own personal well-being. They have spent years focusing on their careers and families, and now they're able to shift their focus toward themselves. This may involve taking up hobbies that they've always wanted to explore, focusing on physical fitness, or investing in their mental health. The time and energy that would have gone into maintaining a relationship now go toward these self-care activities, which have become their new priority. They've learned to find joy in solitude and have come to appreciate the quiet moments that come with living on their own. The benefits of this lifestyle are clear. They have more time to focus on personal growth, health, and pursuing activities that bring them happiness. Another factor that plays into their decision is the sense of emotional independence. These men have often been through difficult emotional experiences in their past relationships, such as divorce, loss, or complicated family dynamics. As a result, they have learned to become emotionally self-sufficient. The thought of starting a new relationship, which might involve navigating the emotional complexities and potential heartache that come with it, is something many older men simply aren't interested in. Instead, they choose to focus on maintaining their emotional well-being through healthy friendships, family relationships, and personal reflection. They've learned that emotional peace comes from within, and that their emotional health doesn't need to rely on the ups and downs of a romantic relationship. Financial stability also plays a role in the decision to remain single. After years of building careers and preparing for retirement, many older men are careful about maintaining their financial independence. The prospect of remarrying often brings up concerns about finances, especially if a new partner would have access to their assets or if their financial plans would be disrupted. These men have worked hard to ensure their financial security, and the idea of introducing financial complications into their lives is something they are not willing to risk. They are more focused on maintaining the comfortable lifestyle they've created for themselves and ensuring that their finances are in order for their later years. This financial independence provides them with the freedom to live life on their own terms, without the need to answer to anyone else. In conclusion, the decision not to remarry for many older men is a result of a combination of factors, including a desire for independence, emotional well-being, financial security, and the realization that happiness comes from within. These men have learned to define their own happiness, free from the societal pressures that once influenced their choices. They value the relationships they have with family and friends, but they have also come to appreciate the freedom and peace that comes with living on their own terms. For them, the choice to remain single is not about rejecting love or companionship, but rather about embracing a life that allows them to focus on what truly matters to them: personal growth, emotional stability, and the freedom to live authentically.